I guess a rule of thumb is as tall as the shooter. With me, that would be 67 inches for a D-bow of Southeastern design. Probably 68 inches, would you?
Okay, we'll go for 68 inches.
Yeah.
Then.
I think that'll spread the stress out pretty good. You know, it's a really nice day to be doing this. Keith is cleaning up the bow right now and getting everything uniform. And he says the wood feels extremely hard. So it got a good cook. That was a piece of winter cut. It had a lot of cambium on it.
Yeah, and the wood has some pretty good grooves in it, and the cambium's kind of set down in there. Yeah. I'm going to take this little rounded blade here and try to get most of it out. But
it makes a pretty pattern though.
It does. But if you get too much,
yeah, that's right.
During the tillering, sometimes it can crack. And in best case scenario, if that happens, it'll throw your tiller. In the worst case, it'll break your bow. And I've had both of them to happen.
Yeah.
It has a nice look to it.
Yeah.
But not so much just to have a problem.
Okay, checking the moisture content. Keith is taking the cambium off that bow. But I went all the way around this bow, and maybe you can see it here. 6. It's been 6. 6 there. 6 on the back. It's 6 all the way around evenly. Now this thing goes, the lowest it goes is 6. So.
And like I said a few minutes ago, after I fire hardened it twice within 30 minutes after cooling, I wiped it down with a wet rag.
Yeah.
So it's been subjected to a wet rag 2 different times, last night, and then this morning we're at 6.
Yeah.
That's probably where it'll stay. Yeah. Okay, we got it roughed out here, Thad, and what we're going to end up with is long, fairly narrow,
slightly bending
through the handle, and it probably represents a number of southeastern, eastern style bows.
Right.
It's been brown, a good medium brown. Now, of course, the belly's a lot darker. We haven't started tillering yet. We just got it shaped out, roughed out. But we got a nice, good little chocolate brown going all the way through to the back. And so we're going to start tillering now. We can go ahead and cut our string grooves in, and
can it take it?
Bending. Absolutely.
Okay, keeps cutting in the string grooves so we can get a long string on it.
Taking me a little bit longer. I don't think my handle's big enough.
Yeah, you need another handle, man. Keith is a 1,000-year-old bow, and we're using sanders and really big files and metal files.
We're definitely not using 1,000-year-old techniques.
No.
And for all you young fellows out there, enjoy your draw knives and flint flakes and all that while you can, because I can promise you, most of you, when you approach 70 years old, you'll be looking for an easier way to do things. But time catches up with everybody.
That's right.
We just want to show the way, like I said earlier, after having made many fire hardened bows, the only thing that really makes sense in this high humidity environment is browning all the way through.
Right.
And the fact that these woods can take it, and we're able to get these moisture levels down to the level we can, that's what makes sense.
Yeah,
you know?
Makes sense, yeah.
And that's the way things go. They go to where it makes the most sense.
Right.
Many years ago, and I started my self-bow journey, and like a lot of people, I really wasn't that good at eyeballing a tiller. And everybody has to start somewhere, and it's a learning curve at best. And in my learning curve, like I said, it wasn't progressing as well as I wanted to, and I found myself fighting tiller all the way to the end, my full draw, and a lot of times coming in 5 pounds underweight. And it was just a real struggle, spending many hours. I honestly, I figured at one time I had 40 hours in a tillering job. And I struggled fighting tiller from one limb to the other, back and forth, back and forth. Here in the book, they're showing different tiller types based on bow design. And what you have here is this bow here is kind of the bow that we're going to be making here today. And this tiller here. And what I started doing was taking a straight edge and putting it at the fade. In this case, it'd be right there at the handle and the tip of the bow. And what you'll notice is, I put a mark in the middle of the limb, and what you'll notice is you're bending more out. You've got more of a bend in here than you do in here.
Right.
This is whip tillered. Mm-hmm. And again, that's what we're going to do on our bow.
But you can see it with the straight edge.
You see it with the straight edge better. Now you have these two designs here, they're relatively the same. And if you do the same thing here and you put a mark in the middle, you have pretty much mirror images.
Right.
This is elliptical. Same thing in here. Mark's not quite in the middle, but you have mirror images. Now, this over here, here's a bow at full draw, and this is a world record broadhead flight bow. And if we put it here, you see we're bending way more near the handle. This is what I refer to as an aggressive tiller. I'm not sure what they refer to it here in the Bowyer's Bible, but it's bending way more here than the outer, which is opposite of the whip tiller that we're going to make our bow in. And I do all my sinew back bows somewhat similar to this because they can really take it, but this is kind of a speed bow design, and
not a durability.
From what I understand is, you're right. It's like a racing motor. It's could possibly be faster, but the life is probably going to be shorter than it was in the case of this bow. So, and here's some other bows, and you can see. Now here's another bow at full draw, and it's just a bow that a fellow made. And this bow in particular has a non-bending outer 6 or 7 inches. And if you put the straight edge at the two marks, right at the fade and at the end, and a mark in the middle, you can see it's aggressive only due to the non-working outer limb. But you put it in the working area of the limb, and you put a mark in the middle,
you get a mirror.
You got a mirror image, right. An elliptical tiller right there. So this is what we're going to be duplicating with the yardstick.
Yeah.
And so I took a yardstick out and started using it, and I found it worked very well. You know, Thad, I do quite a lot of workshops, and one thing I see a lot is I'll have customers come in and they'll bring some of the bows that they've made. And what I see more than not, most of the time the bows that come in, they're not bending enough at the fade. And I've been eyeballing the tiller, and the bow was probably taking on more set than it should have. So, but when we get through with the workshop, I teach them how to use a yardstick. They go back and they put a yardstick on their bow, and they see that they're not bending enough coming out here. They've got very strong designs, short bows, rigid handles, high stress designs, and they're not bending enough coming out the fade. Right. And after normally after our of course, they put the yardstick up to their bows, and it's obvious to them that their bow's not bending enough. But a lot of people have problem with breaking bows, and most of the time that's the problem. It's not bending enough, and in essence, what they're doing is making a bow that's too short. Because if you have 8 inches in the handle and you have 2 inches in each limb that's not bending enough, that's the equivalent of having a 12-inch handle. So your bow's too short, and they're breaking them, or either stressing them to the point they're going to take a lot of set.
Right.
And one thing this yardstick will do, if you use it from the beginning, you'll find that you'll never end up with a bow that's not bending enough out the handle. And these things like this, they'll just jump out at you. So first thing is, in order of business, learn what kind of tiller you're looking for, whether it be whip, elliptical, or aggressive, based on the bow design. And then, as we start the tillering, we've shown you in the books here, we're going to show you how to use a yardstick and to keep that tiller perfect right from the beginning. Take a percentage of the bow limb.
Right. Yeah.
And in my aggressive bows, my bows with high stress design, if I want to make a stiff outer limb, it'll be 6 to 7 inches.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Pretty good average.
But for my bow length, and that's and I shoot a bow that's about 4 inches longer than necessary.
Right.
I just like the feel of it. And so for my 25-inch draw, I shoot a bow that's 62 to 64, and I'll make the outer 6-7 inches rigid.
And that's just a rough measurement.
And it'll be slightly aggressive, but I've got the bow longer than I need.
Right.
It's longer, so it can handle a slightly aggressive tiller without fatiguing.
Right.
And to train my eye to what I'm looking for. And again, I was just thinking about eyeballing the tiller from a distance like most people do. But I started putting a yardstick up to it like I'm doing this, up to my bows like I'm doing this straight edge. And I noticed that any little nuances that wasn't right in my tiller just jumped out at me.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is I'm taking a limb, I'm splitting it in half, and I'm looking at the limb, each limb, I'm looking at the limb in halves.
Yeah. Independently.
And when you're looking for a mirror image, one half has to be a perfect mirror image of the other. And if it's not, it jumps out at you. You don't have to guess or wonder when you put the straight edge to it.
If you're doing a bow with stiff tips, then you would back off the measurement.
I would back off about 6 inches or 7 inches, and that you want to put the yardstick in the working part of the limb, wherever it is. Okay, just the working part. So it's at the end of the fade, and if you have a stiff area, it's at the end of the stiff area. Only the working section of the limb.
Right.
And
that makes sense.
And if you'll do that and keep it elliptical, that will be the best, longest lasting design for the way most of us like to make our bows these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
why don't you demonstrate that?
I'll let you do it.
I'm not.
And no matter what you have here, whatever back set you have, your first goal is to get those limbs perfectly straight. And a lot of my bows, I'll put 3 inches of back set in them, my normal hunting bows. So getting it straight will be a goal. In this case, we don't have much to move it. When I take and lock it down here, I have the limbs
There you go.
very straight.
They're pretty straight.
Okay, they're pretty straight. And you can just eyeball this part. Get them straight. So if you have a bunch of back set, just get them here.
Yeah.
And there's nothing here to worry about a yardstick with. We just want to see it straight. Now once you do this, we're ready to start bending it. And in this case, we'll just take the bow and we'll just bring it down a bit. And I'm just sitting here and looking at it, and I'm starting to bend down a little bit, and they look even. And again, I'm just kind of eyeballing.
Right.
So we're going to take and come down another inch.
Very minor adjustments.
And again, they both look good.
Yeah.
We'll come another inch. And we're not straining anything here. We're not. Now we're starting to get a little bit of a bend. And so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take a pencil, right? I'm going to take a pencil right here, and I'm going to put a mark right at the fade, into the fade, where I want this limb to start bending. And I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to measure out to the end of the bow, and it's 30 inches. So I'm going to come 15 inches in the middle, and I'm going to put another mark. And what I want, if I put my yardstick up to this mark and the end of the limb, I want to see a mirror image. Now tell me what you see there, Thad. Do you see a mirror image?
No. It's been a little bit more.
Right.
Here, it's a little stiff outer limb.
Now you see no more than we've got this limb bending. You see how it jumps out at us?
Right, yeah.
It jumps out at you where it's not bending. Now what I'll do is I'll say, okay, well it's bending more right in here.
Right.
So I'm going to mark from here, and I notice it seems to be bending in here a bit.
Yep.
And I'm going to mark here. And this is where I want to take wood off, right there.
Okay, but you got to determine where you want the bend to start.
Where the end of your fade is.
And you're going.
In this case, we're going to end up with a bow that's bending through the handle, but we're not going to make this bend happen until we get at least 2/3 of the way finished tilling this bow.
Don't want to do it too early.
No.
Okay.
And what we'll do is it won't start bending until the last 2 to 3 inches of the draw. That's all. That's
right.
You don't want to see it bending.
That's right.
You just want to feel it.
How about this limb?
And we'll come over here and we're going to do the same thing over here. We'll reverse it in a minute.
Yeah.
But we're going to do the same thing.
Okay.
But you see, and what we're going to do is, even with this little bit of bending, we're going to straighten it out to where we have mirror images. And we're going to have this tiller perfect at this stage.
Right. Right.
Not halfway through.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep it perfect. So we're not going to ever overstrain these limbs at any point in time.
It's a good idea.
But when you're standing back eyeballing it, now just stand back here. Can you really see what I showed you?
No, you can't see.
They look really good, both of them, don't they? They look very well. But can you see that aggressive? And then, it would be really hard to see. I mean, tell me what you see over here.
Well, I can't even see the bow because of my eyes.
Well, you really got problems. You got more than a yardstick to fix. But, and here we'll take this over here. Now this one doesn't look half bad.
No, it looks better.
It looks better. It looks very good.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to get this straight.
Outer.
And we're going to take that wood off where we need to we get a mirror image.
Okay.
Okay. So, again, and we're going to have it bending enough right here from the very beginning of the tillering job. Okay?
Yep. Sounds good.
All right,
nothing's being stressed doing this method.
There you go. And so, and what I do, see here, I've got my marks. I marked it here, and I marked it here. And all I'm going to do is scratch this up. And here's the way I do it. Everybody can do their own way. I scratch it up really good, and I take the pencil marks off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll probably have to do it 2 or 3 times, but like I tell a lot of people that come in for workshops, this is not a race.
Right.
We're not trying to see how fast we can do it. But I also tell them, and something I know for a fact, and you probably do too, slowing down can speed you up.
Yeah.
Slowing down at the right place can speed you up a lot because we're not going to ever fight tiller. We're not going to fight tiller all the way to the end of the draw.
Right. Yeah,
we're going to get this
it
right from the beginning.
Yeah.
We're going to keep it that way. And 95% of the wood reduction we're going to do is going to be weight reduction, not tillering, back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. So we're going to get it right. We're going to keep it right.
And something else I wanted to say, and it's in the Bowyer's Bible, says, isn't me saying it, using bandsaws and modern tools to make a bow, sanders and bandsaws, it just removes wood faster, but you can also get in trouble faster.
Yeah, everybody needs to use
Hand tools.
Hand tools to start with, unless you really want to learn the hard way about using
Yeah.
power tools.
One little cut, especially when you get down slim. I used to use my bandsaw as a power rasp, running it backwards to tiller, especially in the early stages.
Yeah.
And it works well, but one mistake, boom.
It don't take but one little slip, and you're starting over. Also, and I want to say something right now. Y'all, I don't know whether you can see where I marked this limb from here to here.
Right.
Dad, I want you to take and rub your fingers like that up and down that limb.
I feel it.
You feel it?
Yeah.
If you'll take and do like this right here, run your fingers up and down these limbs, and sometimes even just close your eyes, this stuff will just jump out at you.
Yeah, you can feel it.
And no problem feeling it. Even the slightest little deviations.
How wide is the bow limbs here?
It looks to be about 1 1/8 inches.
1.1 inches. Pretty narrow.
Slightly more.
Yeah. Okay.
Alrighty, I'm gonna get at it. Okay, what we got? Almost the same. We're still bending in here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put a mark right here where it will go in rigid. We got it, and you see it's not bending right in here.
No, it looks pretty straight.
Right.
Pretty straight.
Same thing, I didn't take quite enough out. And again, I just basically took the pencil marks off and what I could feel easily.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to take a little bit more off, and we're going to do it again.
Okay.
But if you'll scratch this bow limb up, you can, if by chance you don't take enough off in an area, sometimes these pencil marks will show up. And what I advise all my students, and they start out, we just take a coarse piece of sandpaper and start right here, make little short strokes. And just as the pencil marks disappear, you just keep moving down the limb. Like that. And I can tell you like this, it's going to take more than one time. So I'm going to do it again. Sometimes it could take 5 or 6 times. But the idea is to get this bow right before we really start bending it.
And this is pretty aggressive sandpaper here. What is it about?
This is 36 grit.
36 grit, yeah. It's like a rasp almost.
Yeah. Now, personally, I don't really care if it takes me 8 times to get it right.
Right.
Getting it right from the beginning.
That's the key. Yeah.
And keeping it right. It's a lot easier to keep it right once you get it right. And we got a little bit of bend in here. And we're also rigid from here on in.
Right.
You see, we're not bending enough.
Right.
You see how that picked that up?
Yep. And it's pretty stiff.
Same thing.
Yeah, out here. If you get everything right and everything's bending even, nothing's stressed more. Everything's evenly stressed.
Okay, what do you see there, Dad?
Let me look at it from this side. looks a little stiff
Yeah,
in here.
that's what it looks like from this side. Right in here,
Yeah,
right there. I mean, not enough in here.
right.
We'll just go
Yeah, I
another
see
inch
that.
or two. I
Yeah.
do see still something here.
Yep.
You see that?
Yeah, I do.
Now come over here again and just stand here and eyeball that. I challenge anybody to pick up what we just
Yeah, it looks.
eyeballing. You wouldn't.
You'd say,
wouldn't-
okay, we're good.
We're
I
good.
mean,
We're
it looks
good to go. And you're not probably going to hurt the limb to keep bending it. But here's the thing: we want to get it perfect.
Right.
And again, once you get it perfect, sometimes once I get it perfect, and I start bending, I can go 5 inches
At a time.
at a time
Yeah.
without having to.
So then you're
tiller.
actually speeding up.
Then at that point, I got to do weight reduction.
Right.
And we'll show you an easy way to do weight reduction without throwing the tiller. All right, Thad, now it's taken us 3 or 4 attempts here at taking wood off, basically pencil marks at the time. And we've got it very good.
We know everything's as even as we can get it.
And we've pretty much got mirror images on both
Right,
halves.